All right, let's get right into it. If you're working in online, flexible, or distance learning, you'll want to see this. A new paper has just been published that really gets to the core of a question we're all grappling with. How do we actually improve the experience for disabled learners?
So we're digging into a fantastic reflective paper by Lynette Brice. It's titled, What Would Make the Biggest Difference? And it's in the latest journal of open, flexible, and distance learning. And let me tell you, the insights here are sharp, they're practical, and they are incredibly timely.
You know, the whole paper really boils down to this one central question. We've spent so much time and money on accessible platforms, on assistive technologies, but what's the one thing that truly makes or breaks the educational journey for a disabled student? That's what Brice set out to uncover at New Zealand's Open Polytechnic.
Now, to get to a real answer, this wasn't just about collecting opinions. The research built this really robust framework using 4 different theoretical models of disability. It's helpful to think of them as 4 distinct lenses, right? Each one brings a critical part of the puzzle into focus.
Okay, so the first lens is the social model. This is a big one. It's actually the foundation of New Zealand's national disability strategy. The idea is, well, it's simple but pretty radical. It's not a person's impairment that's the problem. It's the barriers that society and our institutions put in their way. So, fixing it becomes a shared responsibility for all of us.
Next, we have the ecological model. This one zooms in a little closer. It forces us to look at a student's entire learning ecosystem. And that includes what they call the non-human actors. You know, the learning platform, the software, things like that. But, and this is key, it also looks at the human actors, the teachers, the support staff, everyone who interacts with that learner.
The third lens is the active model, and this one really shifts the focus onto the learner's own agency. It's all about their autonomy, their choices, their control. It sees them not as, passive recipients of help, but as active consumers who are choosing and using the tools and services that work for them.
And a final piece of the toolkit is crip theory. This one is powerful because it reframes disability as a valued identity, as a culture. And from this point of view, the learner's own story, their lived experience, is considered just as valid, if not more valid, than a formal medical diagnosis. It really pushes us to make the whole process of disclosing a need as easy as possible.
So you can see how these 4 lenses create a really comprehensive picture. The social model says the environment itself can be the barrier. The ecological model maps out every player, human and non-human, in that environment. The active model centers the student's own power. And crip theory says, listen to their story. It's a fantastic approach.
Okay, so with that framework locked in, the research turned to the most crucial source of evidence you can get, the learners themselves, the akonga, as they're called in Te Reo Maori, and also the staff, the kaimahi. And after a full year of conversations with a disability advisory group, 5 major themes just kept coming up, over and over again. And I want you to look at that list. Pay close attention to the one at the top, the one that emerged most often, disability confidence among staff.
And if you want to know what a lack of disability confidence feels like, just read this quote from a student. It is absolutely devastating. It shows that it's not always about ill will. Sometimes it's a lack of awareness that creates these incredible, painful barriers to learning.
The second huge theme was this whole complicated, often terrifying process of disclosure. Students are facing a genuine dilemma here. Do they speak up about their needs and risk judgment, or do they just try to struggle through in silence without the support they're entitled to? And this quote just gets right to the heart of that fear, doesn't it? Disclosing isn't just checking a box on a form. For a student, it can be this moment filled with anxiety, often based on bad experiences in the past, and a real fear of prejudice. The process itself becomes a barrier.
So, now we have the theoretical lenses. We have the rich, qualitative data from the students and staff. The paper was finally ready to answer that big, central question. After sifting through all the themes, all the student stories, all the staff feedback, one factor was named more than any other. One thing that they said would make the single biggest difference.
And there it is. That was the answer. It wasn't the learning platform. It wasn't a piece of software. It wasn't any particular tool. The single biggest difference maker was the disability confidence of the people, the kaimahi, right across the entire organization.
This is such a crucial finding, and it ties right back to that ecological model we talked about. Because while the tech, the non-human actors, is important, it's the human actors in the system who have this massive, disproportionate impact. Their attitude, their knowledge, their willingness to help, that's what really counts.
So what do we do with this? What does this mean for our own institutions in practice? Well, the paper gives some very clear, very actionable recommendations that I think are transferable to just about any online learning context.
When it comes to staff, it's all about building that confidence from the ground up. Yeah, you start with regular training in anti-ableism and universal design, but it has to go deeper. The paper really stresses co-developing that training with disabled learners. And, this is so important, making disability competency a core part of how you hire and who you hire.
And for our processes as institutions, the big theme is just remove the barriers and empower the students. That means making disclosure safe, simple, and something they can do at any time. It means creating visible online communities. And fundamentally, it means we have to stop creating plans for students and start co-constructing them with students, honoring the fact that they are the experts in their own lives.
You know, when you step back, the paper's main conclusion is actually both incredibly simple and really profound. In an age where we're all racing towards AI and automated solutions, this research is a powerful reminder that in education, the human connection, the empathy and knowledge of another person is still the thing that matters most.
And that really leaves us all with a pretty crucial question for our own work, doesn't it? If we accept that disability confidence is the key, then we have to ask ourselves, how are we actually measuring it? How are we valuing it? And what are we doing as a system to truly cultivate it in every single member of our staff?